Good to be back in Indy. It was a little nostalgia, making the drive down and knowing how much I miss coming down and getting this process started. But just like I talked about with the Senior Bowl, it was a it was a phase in our process, critical phase in our process, and now we're at the next phase. And we got some clarity from the Senior Bowl, so now we get some more clarity. Hopefully, we'll leave this week here in Indy. But any questions? That's a great question because the more that we keep going through the process, I mean, I could say all across the board, I'm seeing positions that, I think like interior defensive linemen, I think it's a strong class there. I think that was exhibited down there at the Senior Bowl, and that's not even counting the players that weren't invited down there. I think it's a good wide receiver class, I think the safety class is good. It's a good corner group. So it's actually it's a lot of positions where I think it's shaping up to be a pretty good draft.
Without getting too far into how you rank him on your big board, but Aiden Hutchinson, Michigan guy, he's obviously a top prospect. What kind of guy like that? What do you look for from a guy like that in the league? What do you want to see?
Yeah, just hopefully comes on here. He competes. For what I know of him, seems like he's that type of guy. He's a local guy. He's from Detroit. Plays hard. Had a very productive year. We'll get whatever questions answered. Out of him throughout this week and going forward.
Whether it's him or someone else, how much more work needs to be done before you make a determination on number two with a small group?
Yeah, I always say like this time of the year, like it's a little cloudy. Like there's smoke around kind of everything at this stage of the process. Again, now we feel really good at where we're at this stage in the process. But I think as we finish each phase, we got through the Senior Bowl. Now it's this phase, and then we'll get into the pro days, and then each phase the smoke will start to clear up, and then we'll get good clarity.
Yeah, I talked a lot about anchors in your time
Yeah.
here, wanting to avoid them. I'm just curious when it comes to measurables at the combine, whether it's 40-yard dash, arm length, wingspan, like that. Is there anything that's a disqualifier for you, or do you maybe have great hesitation in certain thresholds?
That's a good question, Justin. You definitely want to get confirmation on what those measurables are for what you thought you saw on film. Now, some measurables you already have. There's a lot of studies that's done in terms of at which position, whether it's offensive tackle with arm length, like what are the subset of offensive tackles with this size arm length, and what has been the success rate of those guys, and then it runs through what is wide receivers in 40 times. Does that really compare? And so that's when you really deep dive the analytics, and we have a great analytics department that we utilize heavily. But yeah, no, there's certain trends that you can see start to develop when you start deep diving the measurables.
What do you consider your strengths, weaknesses draft? Wide receivers, perhaps, offensive tackle?
Yeah, like I was saying, so many different positions that they'll keep, like, as we keep going through the process that I'm seeing that are, man, this is a good group. Like I was saying, like interior defensive linemen, I think it's a good group. I think really all the DBs, the corners, the safeties, I think the wide receivers is a good group. So, yeah, I think it's a lot of positions.
How do the wide receivers compare to the last couple of years? There have been a lot of good wide receivers the last 2 years in particular. How does this group compare?
They're all different. They're all. It's just like each draft class is just different. It's probably a little bit too early to tell right at this point. But obviously, there were some good ones that came out in the top 10. Last year's draft, and we'll see how it shakes out. But again, going back to that clarity issue, or going that clarity subject in terms of as we go along in the process, you'll gain more clarity on that side of things.
One of the college games you went to in person was Oregon at UCLA at the Rose Bowl.
Sure.
What did you see from Kayvon Thibodeau on that day that stood out to you professionally?
Yeah, well, he had a productive game that game. I don't know if that's because I timed it up right, but he had a productive game, and he's He's a good-looking prospect. Obviously, it worked out because we're out west playing the Rams, so I was able to see him up close, which was good. But he had a productive game.
When you drafted in Payne last year, how much do you converse with him about potentially a guy like Kayvon, who obviously you went up against in practice, things that maybe you do or don't have access to by way of practice film, those sorts of things from inside the team?
Yeah, if you can get intel from teammates, rather former teammates, that always helps along the way for sure.
Brad, last year free agent.
The NFL stock acquiring the Wonderlic test this year. I'm wondering what you thought of that previously, how heavily that factored into evaluations, and whether you thought it was a good test or not, and what other sort of direct assessment you might be supplementing that with.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the Wonderlic, I always thought it was a good resource to utilize, especially when you're trying to figure out, players' ability to absorb information and retain information. And it's not the end all be all, but I thought it was very helpful tool, a very helpful resource. There are a lot of other resources that you can utilize, but even with the Wonderlic, how are you using the Wonderlic? Austin, it was like that 1-digit score that everybody was looking at, but it was like, okay, well, what's that 1-digit score off of how many were attempted within that time frame? So it's just, you can find out a lot the deeper you dive within that Wonderlic, but there's a lot of other tests out there that we utilize that I keep in house that can be as good if not better.
Brad, last year free agency was a lot of one-year deals. More prepared and more comfortable this year finding a guy that's a bit more of a cornerstone piece of free agency.
Yeah, I mean, it's great when it works out where you can find that on a 1-year deal in it. But like I was saying, back last time we talked at the end of the season, we were in a position where we had to resort to a lot of those 1-year deals, just with the resources that we had available to us. But we'll have a little bit more resources available to us this year, where we can search for. We're not just searching for a 1-year deal, guys. I'm not saying that we won't sign a guy that's on a 1-year deal. That'll still be in play. But I guess you could say the universe is a lot more open to us this year.
Just to follow up on that, I don't know, is there a fine line of sorts that you have to walk with? I know you guys want to build this incrementally the right way, so making sure you still do that. Is it the right time to spend big on a free agent? What's sort of
Yeah, Dave. It's you still want to build through the draft. At least that's what Dan and I talk about in terms of building through the draft. And you want to be selective, you want to be strategic in free agency. We did a lot of the 1-year deals last year. That kind of went in line with kind of what our plan was, what our process was at that time. And then now we're entering year 2 of our plan, and so you got to tweak here and there. That's going to be a little bit different, but as the years go on, you just got to just stick to your plan. Excuse me, I didn't hear you. About being virtual? Yeah, it was different, but what I've always said about that virtual process is that everybody was on that same playing field. Everybody was on the same plane. So, but you still can get a lot out of it. I do think the virtual world, it's allowed us to learn how to be a lot more efficient in a lot of areas. And you guys have heard me talk at length. I'm a big proponent of utilizing the technology as the accelerator that it is. And so so I didn't. It was not really many complaints from our end. We just kind of maximized the resource that we had available to us at that time.
where does GPS speed rank versus combines 40 times speed?
Well, Dave, me. I'm always going to see how fast the guy looks on tape. Now whether it's the GPS speed, it's the handheld speed, it's the electronic speed. You utilize all of them, but at the end of the day, and I always challenge my staff is, look, tell me how fast that guy is on film. We don't need to wait to see what he runs on a clock. It's if the guy is fast, he's fast. If the clock doesn't confirm that, then there's some more work that we got to do.
Being the Senior Bowl, being part of this process, you had 6 of the quarterbacks who were expected to be towards the top of this class down there. How is the evaluation of those guys different than the guys you work with in Mobile?
You mean in terms of the guys that?
Like, how is the process for getting back with those 6 quarterbacks here different than it will be for guys
Well, it was a great head start, and I always said, credit to Jim Nagy and him being able to get all those top prospects there down at the Senior Bowl, and we were able to get a great head start and get a lot of clarity, like I was talking about, kind of clearing out a little bit of smoke. But now you enter this next phase, you follow up with those same guys that was there, and then the guys that weren't not at the Senior Bowl. You got to be just as diligent and thorough in your process with those guys, and I mean that's what we'll do.
So much success with undrafted guys last year. AJ, Jerry, Brock, guys that really contributed. How big is this week in starting that process of starting to evaluate some of the guys that maybe are day three guys? What is that process that you guys are success with?
Yeah, well, Tim, I'm not going to give you all the, but seriously, no, no, it is. It does start here because it's some guys that guys. You got to think. The purpose of the combine is you want to have everybody here that you think might have a chance to get drafted. So there's some guys that out of the 324 whatever that there's going to be a share that's not drafted, and so when you have that intel and you have that thorough medical information and all that, you just keep following up with them, not only here but through the pro day process, and then not only even here but the guys that did not get invited here. So like, what are your non-combine guys that your scouts had a lot of like for, because they're really when it comes to those guys, they're the backbone of it. Our area scouts and our national scouts, are like, those are guys that made that thing come to life. And now we all about collaboration, right? So, we use our position coaches and, our coaching staff and personnel department collaborate with it. But, that's part of the process.
Franchise tag in play for any franchise tag, considering that with any of
Oh, we haven't gotten to those discussions yet.
Brad, we all saw Jared Goff really come on strong at the end. What did you see at the beginning of the season versus him at the end? How do you see him improve?
Well, Jared, his mental toughness, that's one thing that I've always thought very, very highly of. And I know that when Jared came in, he battled some adverse moments early on, and it wasn't a surprise to see him kind of battle through that. But it was really cool for him to kind of stay the course, and that's kind of what we're all about. We always talk about grit, perseverance. Persevering through adverse moments. That's what he displayed, and so it got better towards the end. It was good. That was encouraging, and then he knows the work that he has to continue to do this off season. But it was good that he ended off down the stretch very well.
Speaking of two more guys, being in the NFC North, do you keep an eye on what's happening in Green Bay?
Well, I don't. I have enough going on, but you do keep an eye out, and because it is within the division, you keep an ear out, and you make sure that you're, staying in the loop. But we can only control with what we can control. No, no.
Has there been any movement with Trey Flowers? Has there been any decisions made there?
Yeah, we'll keep open dialogue with Trey and his camp, and then I think that's the best thing to do in all these situations, whether it's players on expiring contracts, whether it's players, whatever contract status it has, you just keep the dialogue open. No, it's just we keep open dialogue with all of our players with whatever situation's going on. So that's what we do, and we just kind of keep it open and honest. Again, we'll just keep the dialogue open and honest, and we'll just go from there.
Last one, guys. How different a player is Panay Sewell for you at the end of his rookie season compared to the player you were analyzing virtually at 19/20, opting out of a year,
Yeah.
and having a college pro days hit for 14 months or so?
Yeah, well, Panay took the necessary growth that we expected him to take. And he started off how we kind of expected him. We knew that he's got a really high ceiling, and he's still got growth to do. That's what's exciting about him. He's an extremely gifted player, but I will say everything that he went through in terms of, off the opt out and then, starting off at right and then going to left and then going back to right. That's hard to do for a rookie. And for him to battle all that, not only physically, but mentally, and still keep getting better as the year goes on, we definitely know that we'll have even a better player next year. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.